The U.S. death toll from the coronavirus quietly surpassed 200,000 on Tuesday, less than 8 months after the first American fatality. The U.S. reached 100,000 deaths in May. Now, some experts estimate the death toll could almost double by year's end. Fatigue for social distancing and the push to get back into offices and schools could fuel new cases and deaths in the coming weeks and months. Experts at the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington predict 378,321 deaths by January 1. The nation marches on. Hollywood is primed to make a comeback after months of filming delays, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued guidelines for relatively safe Halloween celebrations. Traditional trick-or-treating gets the thumbs down. Some significant developments. Our travel writer David Oliver checked in at a few hotels to check out their coronavirus protocols. Here's what he found. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention walked back changed guidance on how the coronavirus spreads. On Friday, the CDC posted an update on its website saying 6 feet may not be sufficient to keep people safe and that ventilation was key to easing transmission indoors. But on Monday, the agency said the new guidance was a draft version that was posted in error. Some economists say the U.S. could fall into a double-dip recession if Congress fails to pass another coronavirus stimulus package. Today's numbers: Minnesota, Montana, Utah, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and Puerto Rico set records for new cases in the week ending Monday. The U.S. has reported more than 6.8 million cases and 200,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University data. Globally, there have been more than 31.4 million cases and 966,000 fatalities. The U.S. death toll reached 200,000 on Tuesday as states grapple with opening schools, restaurants, gyms, and other small businesses. In March, President Donald Trump said keeping the death toll between 100,000 to 200,000 people would have indicated that his administration had done a very good job. As the number has continued to climb and a vaccine available to the masses does not appear imminent, Trump has sought to reshape the significance of the death tally. If we didn't do our job, it would be 3.5, 2.5, maybe 3 million people, Trump said Friday, leaning on extreme projections of what could have happened if nothing was done to fight the pandemic. We have done a phenomenal job with respect to COVID-19. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi scheduled a moment of silence Tuesday in memory of the 200,000 plus Americans killed by COVID-19. Trump blasts WHO, says China unleashed this plague onto the world. President Donald Trump on Tuesday used his speech to the United Nations General Assembly to call on the global organization to hold Beijing accountable for the coronavirus pandemic, saying China unleashed this plague onto the world. Trump said China locked down domestic travel while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world. Trump again referred to COVID-19 as the China virus and berated the World Health Organization, which the U.S. has begun withdrawing from, for being virtually controlled by China. Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke shortly after Trump, calling for global cooperation and saying any attempt of politicizing the issue or stigmatization must be rejected. Study: up to 70% of KN95 masks from China don't meet filter standards. The KN95 mask is meant to filter out 95% of aerosol particles. However, the nonprofit patient safety organization ECRI issued an alert against the masks after an analysis found that up to 70% of the KN95s imported from China did not meet these filtration standards. U.S. hospitals were forced to purchase hundreds of thousands of KN95 masks produced in China over the past 6 months. ECRI tested nearly 200 masks from 15 different manufacturer models purchased by some of the largest health systems in the country. There was not only variability among the different brands but also inconsistencies among masks made by the same manufacturer. We are concerned about the safety of healthcare workers and patients when using KN95s in high-risk procedures, and that's why we sent out the hazard alert, said Dr. Marcus Schabacker, ECRI's president and chief executive officer. We don't use this lightly, we reserve that for immediate risk. Adriana Rodriguez, ex-White House Task Force member, says Trump's views were frightening. Former White House Coronavirus Task Force member Olivia Troye says it was frightening when President Donald Trump said the virus would disappear like magic. Troye, an ex-aide to Vice President Pence, told NBC News Today show the task force was aware of how big COVID-19 would be in late January, before the first U.S. death. Troye said the president appeared dismissive of the virus. He said, "When you're a politician, you have to shake a lot of hands. You have to shake a lot of hands. And these people are disgusting. It's gross. And so maybe, COVID's probably a good thing, right? I don't have to shake hands. I don't have to do that anymore." Pence has described Troye as a disgruntled employee while Trump says he does not remember ever meeting her. Goodell on $100,000 fines for NFL mask violations. You can't let up. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says he has no qualms about harshly penalizing coaches who violate the NFL's protocols mandating that they wear face masks while roaming the sidelines. The NFL on Monday fined 3 coaches, San Francisco's Kyle Shanahan, Denver's Vic Fangio and Seattle's Pete Carroll, at $100,000 each for disregarding the policy. Their respective teams were docked $250,000 apiece. It's consistent with the message, Goodell told USA Today Sports. You can't let up. We've got to consistently do the things that have gotten us to this place and not think, okay, things have gone so well, so it's okay now. It's not. You've got to stay on your toes and we've got to continue to be disciplined. Jarrett Belfauci laments confused messages, politicization of public health protocols. Dr. Anthony Fauci's appearance on Comedy Central's The Daily Show with Trevor Noah on Monday night was no laughing matter. Fauci denied having any political agenda and lamented the politicization taking place over public health protocols for combating COVID-19. He also acknowledged and decried the confused messages coming from the Trump administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. What has evolved now is that people almost take sides, like wearing a mask or not is a political statement, and that's really very unfortunate, totally unfortunate, Fauci said. This is a purely public health issue. It should not be one against the other. Historian sees irony in cancellations of Mayflower anniversary events. Many of the art exhibits, festivals, and lectures planned to mark the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower's arrival at what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts, have been delayed or cancelled because of coronavirus concerns, a development historian Elizabeth Fan finds ironic. Disease introduced by traders and settlers, either by happenstance or intention, played a significant role in the conquest of native people. The irony obviously runs quite deep, says Fenn, a history professor at the University of Colorado who has studied disease in colonial America. Novel infections did most of the dirty work of colonization. Boo. CDC says trick-or-treating is ill-advised. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released updated guidelines highlighting different levels of risk for Halloween fun. Pumpkin carving at home or outside at a distance from others, participating in a virtual costume contest or having a scavenger hunt-style trick-or-treat search at home are all considered lower risk. Moderate risk activities include leaving grab-and-go goodie bags outside for trick-or-treaters, having a small, outdoor, and socially distant costume parade and visiting a one-way, socially distant haunted forest with masks. Greater distance is advised if screaming will likely occur. The CDC recommends avoiding higher-risk activities such as traditional trick-or-treating and indoor costume parties or haunted houses. Aaron Jensen. Pence urges governors to reassure public on vaccines. The White House is urging U.S. governors to put politics aside and help the Trump administration promote future coronavirus vaccines as safe and effective. Vice President Mike Pence urged governors Monday to use their bully pulpits and reassure the public that vaccines will be safe to take after a rigorous vetting process by the Food and Drug Administration. What we don't want is people undermining confidence in the process, Pence said in a private call with governors, the audio of which was obtained by the Associated Press. Trump has escalated his promise for a coronavirus vaccine before Election Day. But Democrats, independents, and even some Republicans do not trust the Trump administration to produce a safe and effective vaccine on such an aggressive timeline. British PM Boris Johnson imposes new restrictions, closes pubs. Early British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced several new restrictions aimed at suppressing a recent increase in virus spread, and they include requiring restaurants and pubs to close by 10 p.m. The government is also reversing a push to get workers back to the office by encouraging those who can work from home to do so. The new measures, which also feature stricter requirements for gatherings and use of face coverings, could last up to 6 months and possibly be strengthened if the public doesn't follow the rules, Johnson said. Never in our history has our collective destiny and our collective health depended so completely on our individual behavior, Johnson said in a national broadcast. On Monday, the government's top scientific and medical advisors said virus infections were doubling every 7 days and could rise to 49,000 a day by mid-October if nothing is done to stem the tide.